Hey guys, with this particular kit being for a very specific set of circumstances, as you'll see in some upcoming clips, I thought I would just take a few minutes to disassemble it here in the studio so you can see how things are put together, my thought process behind it. It's raining all day today, so working where I was working yesterday wasn't feasible. So we're just going to do this phase of it here in the studio. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I can do this without ripping my mic off, we're going to take everything out of this and show you what all I've got in it and why and how I've organized it. So stick around for a few minutes and we're going to go through this kit a little more thoroughly than we did yesterday. Well, with the primary purpose of this kit being to mitigate the issues that can come in times of urban upheaval, civil unrest, not so peaceful protest, whatever you want to call it. It's put together a very specific way, starting on the outside where I've got access to light immediately because this is actually, it's set on its dimmest setting, so the light actually gets a lot brighter than that. Starts out dim so that I don't do as much damage to my night vision if I have to use it. And some self-defense. Kubaton, if I need to get somebody off me quickly while I'm trying to organize my kit, organize the equipment's in it. Compass so I can quickly get my bearings on where I'm headed. And then everything is broken down into different parts. This kit is primarily about infrastructure and tooling. So it's got my multi-tool. It's got mirrored sighting compass in it. It's got headlamp in it so I can have hands-free lighting, and red lamp for preserving my night vision once again, because this sort of thing tends to happen at night. I'm sure you can figure out why that is. A rip spool repair kit that helps me put things back together. And just in case, if for whatever reason I didn't have a knife on me, I've got one that I store in that pocket. This one is a blue Spyderco Delica, and I'll go more into that in another video on tactical versus practical, but this color is chosen because it's less tactical looking, more sheeple friendly, if you will. I guess, most of the kids these days that grew up on Hollywood and video games would never suspect a serious person that knows anything about tactics or whatever to be carrying a blue knife. And I've got a few of those for that reason, because it sets up prearranged thoughts in people's minds and takes their mind in a different direction. It's a good tactic under certain circumstances. But also this kit, this part of the kit, this pouch down here, is set up to health and first aid. It's got the safety glasses that you saw earlier. One of the reasons I like to start with safety glasses that don't look like safety glasses, so they don't draw as much attention, but I like having some pretty serious safety glasses along as well for when things start getting a little crazy. So you can see this is devoted to the eyes, which is another thing the compass can come in handy with. Actually, the mirror is good for getting things out of the eye when you're by yourself. My reading glasses, just in case I need to be able to read something small and And obviously this is a folded up emergency blanket. Then we've got the tourniquet. And this one is more geared towards first aid in this pouch. You see the new skin. New skin is good stuff. I like to spray on because you don't have to touch the wound, you don't have to paint it on, you just stand back and spray it on. It's a lot less traumatic for the person that's being sprayed, whether that's yourself or someone else. This one is, as shown before, set up for more infrastructure type stuff with batteries, lights, small multi-tool, fire. So this is set up for mostly light and warmth, which fire can be light. So that's good towards that. The light that's in this kit is my preferred kind for these kits. Still looking for the right one for this one, but it's a twist bezel, so it's not easily turned on inside the kit, and small enough to hold in the mouth to free your hands up while you're treating wounds if need be. If I've lost my headlamp or it's being used by someone else. And that brings me to another part I wanted to talk about, is redundant systems. One of the reasons why there is so much redundancy is because I'm almost never alone. If I'm not at work, where I'm around a lot of people, then I'm usually with my daughter. And so I always have her needs in mind as well. So there's a lot of redundancy. There's more than one knife. There's more than one light. There's more than one way to start fire. There's things like that get repetitive. Partially so I can share, but partially so if I have to leave part of it behind, the more important elements are redundant. So I have cutting tools in every kit. This is a Victorinox one-hand trekker. I like the one-hand opening tools. You'll notice that that's a recurrent theme in my kits. That and Spyderco and Benchmade bug out. It's all easy for me to operate left one-handed. Fixed blades are easy to operate one-handed. So that takes us through most of this kit, and you can see how I've got some hot hands and stuff in here because sometimes first aid is about treating or preventing cold weather injuries. Then going further into it, this kit is about water primarily, but other things as well. This, as talked about earlier, previously, this can be used to irrigate eyes. If debris are in the eyes or CS gas or what have you, it can be used for hydration, obviously, or it can be used to irrigate wounds. This bottle is just as it looks. It's a tough water bottle. This one may end up sustaining a hit in the pack and I lose my water, but this one maintains water pretty well. I mean, if you can see here, it's been dropped multiple times in the years that I've had it. So the Hydro Flask bottles are pretty tough. This one is the Grail. This is more of a minimalist setup for the Grail. I forget what it's the actual name of it. I'll try to remember to put it in the comments. But this filters out, everything, including viruses. And so you can scoop up your water in that, and you push the interior piece down in, put the lid on. You now have potable water that can be used for drinking, or it can be used to put in here for irrigating wounds, either one. And if I'm having to ditch a lot of weight to move quickly, then I will probably, drain one of these, drink it as much as I can if I have time, and then keep this and just let the others go, let it go behind, because I can lose, 3 or 4 pounds just letting go of these two things right here. And this weighs almost nothing when it's empty. Food. Now, for these particular circumstances, a lot of food isn't a big thing. Hopefully it's very short-lived. But I want to carry some in a crush-proof container. And this can all be separated out as well and put into pockets. Back when I was a kid, everything came in cans, except for we did have, Slim Jims and stuff back then too. But tuna and Beanie Weenies and all that stuff came in heavy, bulky cans. These little packets of tuna can be shoved down in a pocket, and they take up no space and they weigh nothing, so they can be distributed. Obviously, I've got a fixed blade knife that I talked about earlier, and the reason I chose this one is, I don't know if you can see that there, but in an urban environment, I like having serrations on my knife. It's in the woods. If you ever come to any of my classes or lessons on bushcraft, none of my bushcraft knives have serrations. If you ever come to my presentations on urban survival, or any of my workshops on urban survival, you'll notice pretty much all the knives that I have set aside for that particular activity have serrations for working with, synthetic materials like sheet metal, fiberglass, vinyl, plastic, tin, what have you. It's helpful when you're quickly trying to fabricate something out of something else or repurpose things. Batteries, more batteries. With today's situations, a lot of lights are rechargeable, So small batteries, the portable batteries that can use battery banks, are handy to have. And the cord is in this kit here. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. I was looking at it upside down. But the USB cord is here because I also have a recharger for these batteries. So I probably should put another cord in this bag. So that's that side of it. Lots of hand warmers stuck back in another pocket because cold weather injuries are insidious. That's another thing that you're going to notice with me is redundant is the ability to warm up. And that's because when I was 16 years old and living on the streets, I encountered my first serious cold weather injuries with frostbitten feet and barely made it through it without having to have toes and large portions of my feet removed. The doctor was brilliant and saved me, so I only had to have some small portions of my toes removed and ended up with permanently changed toenails, but that's not really a problem considering I can still walk and run. So I'm very glad for that. One of the things that I have here is more redundancy, and this is replenishment for some of the first aid kits. This is more of the bleed stop and more of the burn bandages, just in case, because if you've noticed, if you've been paying attention to the news the last few years, you've seen a lot of things burning. It's become a very common event. Cars burning, buildings burning, what have you. And so I spent a lot of time preparing for that, for burns. We've got more in the way of that in the next compartment. And then this is, if it worst comes to worst, this is water purification tablets, which is mostly iodine, peroxide. So it's also medicinal. And then we get into the next compartment. And you notice things on top that I usually get to are things that tend to be needed first. It's like the knife had easy access, the water had easy access in here, the light tools had easy access in here, the first aid supplies had easy access to. Same thing over here. This is the MG217 First Aid. It's cooling burn cream that's 4% lidocaine, which can be sprayed on wounds, according to the pharmacist that I bought it from. So that's something I keep on hand for dealing with that, because wounds, burns particularly, are very, very painful. The lidocaine does wonders with helping relieve the pain from that. This is my buff. And this is, I don't really have a respirator in this kit because I have a beard, and because of having a beard, a respirator wouldn't work, it wouldn't fit, it wouldn't seal solid anyway, so I carry a buff and hope I don't have to deal with any serious particulates in the air or serious gases. Hopefully I can avoid those and see what's coming. Gloves to protect the hands. When things are burning and blowing up, a lot of things can get very dangerous, which is the reason for having all the first aid, being able to use the triple antibiotic ointment and things like that, because just those kinds of wounds can get infected quickly. And then these are the safety goggles that you saw earlier. I'm not going to unwrap them. They're the same ones. I've got them sealed. They're wrapped in the same tissue they came in, wrapped up in paper towels, and then rubber banded into plastic bag to help keep them protected until the time I need them. I use rubber bands for that rather than tape, because tape is hard to get off, duct tape, things like that, especially if your hands are wounded, if your hands are hurting. Rubber bands, on the other hand, you just pull them off and they're out of your way. So I prefer rubber bands over tape to tape things like that down. And then got, some more small bags of paper towels. They can be used for whatever sanitary reasons, cleaning up wounds, personal hygiene, what have you. And then redundant plastic bags are good because they are good for body substance isolation. The term my friend Andrew, and former EMT, taught me was you want to be able to properly dispose of blood and that sort of thing, especially in a deteriorated environment. Strong smells of blood and feces, things like that, can draw predators to you, two-legged and four-legged. So it's good to be able to remove that kind of evidence of your existence from the scene as you move on, as you get out of the way of the unrest. And then I've got, as shown, clothes. There's some cargo pants, long sleeve shirt, black shirt. And that's about it for that. There's a couple of other things in here that are personal protection equipment that I'm sure you can guess, but I'm not going to go into in this video because I'm not sure that that's necessarily part of this video, but it's part of my training for these circumstances, so bear that in mind. And it has extra magazines in there as well. But like I said, this whole kit is meant to be a very short-term situation. It's not meant to get you through primitive living or any of that. That's a whole different skill set. This is just to help you survive unexpected, drastic moments of civil unrest. So hopefully you can kind of see where my thinking was on this, and you can apply some of this to your own circumstances. Everybody's circumstances are different. We all live in different places and different neighborhoods, different environments, different cities, different states, with different laws and different things you can do and can't do in terms of self-defense or preparation. So this is just my way of preparing for, what may come. I mean, we've had some pretty interesting things about an hour and a half to the south of here, and we've had some pretty interesting things going on at the other end of our state. So it's not like it's conspiracy theory. It's a thing. It's out there. It's happening. And some of us travel in different places. So I just wanted to put this together to help you prepare to mitigate some of the issues that you may encounter in some of the cities that have some crazy things going on at the moment. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below as far as, why something is a certain way, or why I end up doing redundant systems. Like some of the things I like to have along. This is a camouflage bandage, military issue, field dressing, but it can also be used as, the green part of the cloth can be used as a buff to help protect your breathing. It can be used to make an improvised tourniquet with, just using that, tying a loop and having 2 sticks and some string, and being able to make a tourniquet if you don't have one with you. I prefer to have one already made up. So hopefully this will help, and hopefully you can maybe gain some insight of how you may want to approach it yourself. Thank you for stopping in for this episode, this video. There's a lot to cover in this particular subject. It's pretty complicated. So there's going to be other videos that will augment some of what was gone into here. Land navigation, how to make sense of an urban map for that sort of thing. And a lot of that stuff isn't taught in schools anymore. And so many people are dependent on Google Maps and other navigation devices to find themselves from point A to point B, that a lot of people drive through their city without ever knowing how to get to where they would be going if they were on foot. So I'm going to go into that. There's going to be practical versus tactical. It's like, for me, it's not a problem for the knives that I carry. Other people, Swiss Army knives might be a little better than some of the pocket knives I carry that are a little more aggressive for certain situations. My daughter's knife, for example, is pink and purple, and I got that because it was both sheeple friendly and she likes the colors, and it's it's just, it doesn't look like a tactical knife. It's just a utilitarian knife, but it still has the same mounting system as all the other SE knives that I like. The boot belt clip, it can be quickly located or relocated to any other part of the body. Food. One of the things I didn't touch on when I was talking about food is, especially if you've got children, some of their comfort foods. That's one of the reasons why I have the chocolate chip granola bars. Sometimes morale can lag when children are in high stress situations, and when we get to a place where we're a little safer and things can calm down a little bit, and having some of our comfort foods on hand are good for morale. It's good to to help alleviate some of the stress and strain that comes from dealing with these circumstances, because if you find yourself in it, the next few minutes to an hour are going to be pretty intense, depending on what level of unrest you're in and how close to the center of it you are. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of food for thought on how you might prepare your own kit, smaller, larger, specific to your environment. Here in the South, it's mostly warm, so we seldom need, really heavy clothing. Whereas, places like Michigan, when I was up there in 2013, if I'd have had to bug out of my truck, I would have wanted a very, very heavy coat and some thermal undergarments to help keep me from sustaining more cold weather injuries than I already have in my life, because I do not enjoy them. They're very dangerous. They can get very nasty very quickly. So one of the reasons why you see a lot of redundancy in that area. But I'm going to close for now and just say thank you. I hope this helps. I hope this gives you some kind of idea of how you might prepare for some of these things. And we'll keep preparing ourselves for what may come. And I'll see you next time. And until then, have a blessed day.